Zviri George Charamba akarohwa zvisingaite, akarohwa zvisingaite. Right, kwatangira nyaya mhuri yeZimbabwe ndekuti George Charamba ari kutukanidzana naKerina Mujati. Ndofunga Kerina Mujati munhu wekuti anotoziva George Charamba in person chaizvo zvekutoonana. Right, Kerina Mujati akauya padandemutande vane mazuva vanhu vachitukanidzana but isusu hatisi kuuya nenyaya idzi, but tasongosaridza kuti aiwa tiuye tikuonesei nyaya dziripo kuti zvinhu hazvina kumira zvakanaka. Right, ndofunga makambonzwa Timba Mliswa achinetsana George Charamba, tikanzwa vamwe kutaura kuti George Charamba neBlack Belt, Timba Mliswa neBlack Belt, saka vasangana makarati kid ega ega zvinogona kungomuka. Vasangana makarati kid ega ega ava vanogona kungorovana because vese vakatraina. Right, zviri kutonzi Black Belt naGeorge Charamba akatoripiwa hanzvirwa tsitsi naMudhara Masango because zviri kunzi anga atomborohwa neumwe ainzi Tianga neBrown Belt. So ndo mamira zvakaita. Zviri kunzi George Charamba akatorohwawo neumwe munhu anga neBrown Belt, iye akazongopiwawo Black Belt nekunzwirwa tsitsi. Right, according information iri kutaurwa naKerina Mujati panapa, Kerina Mujati akataura achiti Black Belt rakapiwa hanzi Black Belt rawakapiwa naMudhara Masango akunzwira tsitsi wakufunga unotyisa munhu wese. Hameno Kerina Mujati anokwanisa kurova George Charamba here. Zvikanzi wakamamiswa naED anga aine Brown Belt, iwe fombo ukaita crack padama, iwe warohwa naED, ini ndokuzhangadza mbwa iwe handisi mukadzi wako, chichichichi zvakawanda wanda zvakachitaura panapa. So zvinonzi George Charamba akarohwa, ndofunga kudhojo kwazvakaitika ndokwaakabhurwa. So ndonyange tikuonesei kuti aiwa George Charamba zvitonzi akabhurwa paBlack Belt ramunongonzwa achitaura nezvaro. Mukanzwa paitaura nyaya yeBlack Belt munobva mabvunza kuti ko ane Brown Belt akazokurovai mukuru, zvii zvazvaitika? Inyaya dzavari kubuditsirana vanhu veZANU-PF vega vega vari kuzvimbisana. Iri timu rinenge richinzi timu Chwenga, but vari kutozvimbisana, tisi kuziva kuti nyaya iri kubvira papi. So ndomamira zvakaita, tanguya tikuoneseiwo ndonyaya dziripo.
Yes, like what we were used to, because we are no longer holding elections after 5 years. So it means our delimitation after every 14 years. I don't know whether they're going to be doing. I don't know whether this thing see maybe because this thing is now a new entity, something new. They might come out and say, "Good, forget about what we did, or forget about what Zek did in 2023. We want to do another one." In just before 2030, in preparation for the election in 2030. That is, if there's going to be an election in 2030. And as you know, ZANU-PF is always gerrymandered with these things. It's always played around with this thing. It's always done what it needs to do best in order for them to consolidate their superiority in terms of party politics in Zimbabwe. So they might want, to do whatever it is that, they do best to get another advantage in 2030, such that when we go for the elections, ZANU-PF will always, walk to victory in terms of the parliamentary election, but this time they would want to consolidate, their gains and leave opposition in the shadows. So as WAPO, is written, when you're looking at this, when you're seeing this, it is heralding a new existence, whereby probably it's going to take the opposition years and years before the opposition, comes to power. If nothing happens, or if there's no challenge that is going to probably nullify whatever it is that has happened, if there's no military intervention like a coup that is going to stop, what has happened, if we go with what is, in existence, right now, it means whoever wants to challenge Emerson, or whoever wants to challenge for the position of the president, their only way, or probably not, but probably their only way, is for them to go in parliament as a member of parliament and then get elected. Could have a president via that route. I'm not clued on yet. Can anybody who's not elected as an MP can come in and be chosen to be the or to contest for the position of the president? I think I'm not clued on on that. If anyone knows what the position is pertaining to that, you can easily come in and we can have a conversation around that. So another important adjustment that has been made by this new law that has been enacted is, or that has been gazetted, is that of the composition of the Senate. 10 more are going to be introduced, and these are going to be appointed members on the basis of their professional skills. But there are consequences to this, because it is going to be modifying the succession procedures. And if in a president dies, or resigns, or is removed, there's a talk of the last sitting vice president acting as the president until a new president assumes office. So it means that president, that acting president, would take over for a short period of time, preside over whatever it is that needs to happen. I don't know, with the help of the clerk of parliament. I'm not sure. Whatever. I'm not sure how this is going to be happening as we go forward. But these are some of the things that I am talking about. Zandrukut is coming out of what has been gazetted today, and what has been put out there. So when you are looking at all these changes, ladies and gentlemen, they collectively reshape Zimbabwe's constitutional landscape. That is in no doubt. There are no two ways about that. You can have your own interpretation of what has happened. Some, as we know, they're saying Kuti, it is going to be promoting stability. Some are saying Kuti, it is going to be promoting policy continuity. And as the preamble notes, that national development programs benefit from stability and continuity of policies. Maybe this is where these folks are coming from. But there are people that are raising concerns about the democratic participation, about issues of accountability, about the balance of power. We've seen reactions that have come from the likes of Tendai, reactions that have come from the likes of Tabani. I was speaking to Honorable Job Sikala. He gave his reaction, and there are reactions that are coming through. So many people are reacting to what has happened, today. And I said, we need to give each other that opportunity to also, react, in real time, as this thing, has happened. So I just want, to um um uh reinforce again, or reiterate and say, Kuti, the document that is out there has got no signature, but that is not to say that it is not the real deal. The authentication has happened through the gazetting, and it is not necessarily through a visible signature that you can see on a PDF, like what is out there, circulating. So the act, or the mere act, or the mere development that this has been gazetted, removes any doubt in terms of whether this thing is genuine or this thing is not. And anyway, Nick Mangwana has posted about it. I think he was one of the folks, a few people to post about it. I think I saw it. I was alerted to it 5 minutes after, he's posted about it. And the thing is still there. And now we are now having, a conversation. We are now having, this. So, yeah. So, again, re-emphasizing, the fact here, Kuti, we're wondering whatever it is that was going to be happening once this is signed. How is Emerson Mnangagwa going to get his 2 years? How is he going to be continuing? Is he going to be abolishing government, and then allow this sitting parliament to then vote him for a fresh start, a 7 year start, that is was going to be taking him to probably 2033. But the text of the amendment itself, it is saying that the presidential term is now 7 years, and it explicitly states that this applies to the sitting president, to the current president. So it says in subsection 2, subsection B, by the deletion of the words 5 years and substitution of 7 years, right? That is what the act is talking about. And then it is adding to that clause to say, subsection 2A, notwithstanding section 328, subsection 7, subsection 2B shall apply to the continuation in office of the president. So it means that subsection 2B, where it is being said, under that act, where it is being said that they're deleting 5 years and they're substituting with 7 years, it means Kutizo, whatever safeguard that was under 328 subsection 7 will not apply because it has been explicitly written in this new law that is now part and parcel of our constitution, and that is extremely important. So we need to understand that we need to have an understanding. Even the parliamentarians, their tenure is extended by a further 2 years under section 143, because under that section, they say that they're deleting the 5 year term and they're substituting that with 7 year term. And then they add on again to say subsection 1 shall apply to the continuation office of the Senate and National Assembly. We are looking at subsection 2A of the new act, and this is the one that is speaking to the extension of the term of the parliamentarians. So it means when we voted for them in 2000, in 2023, for a 5 year tenure. Today, we have just woken up and Tasquera to only realize Kuti, it is no longer 5 years, it is now 7 years on the basis of the new act that was gazetted today. So there's no dissolution that is enshrined in that constitutional amendment document. So that talk that we had previously will not suffice. And the only scenarios that we'll have to be dealing with today is to say, Guti, if a president, right now he is on a 7 year term, right? But if it happens that he dies, then Parliament has to choose another president within 30 days, and this is covered under Section 92, subsection 7. Or if Parliament is dissolved early, the Constitution still allows that. The dissolution is still allowed under the Constitution 143 subsection 2, but the amendment does not encourage, or it is not requiring it to happen. To say Emerson Mnangagwa can dissolve parliament, can dissolve, the government, can do whatever it is, that he wants. They've injected clauses that ensures our continuity. So there's not going to be a void. There's not going to be any contemplation of Emerson Mnangagwa wanting to get his nod from this current parliament, because already the amendments that have been done or that have been made give him the nod. There's no need for him to seek the approval of this current new parliament for him to have his 2 years. So that is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. So it means I am choosing here to ignore about all the other clauses because they do not speak to an important matter that has happened today, which is a recalibration of how we choose executive authority in Zimbabwe.